SANDHAN, All Gujarat Integrated Classroom.
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Namaskar. Today we are going to learn the classification and the presentation of the data. This is a unit 1 of BAC students who are enrolled in the semester 1. It is very important that we need to classify the data and accordingly we should represent our data. So let me start with the today's session. That the classification of the data is based on so many definitions. First we need to understand some terminology which is based on the classification, like population. Now the population is a very wide word. We need to understand it. The group of a particular information, it is called as the population. In terms of the statistics, classification is only possible by sample and the population. The entire group of individuals is called the population. For example, a researcher may be interested in the relationship between class size, that is called variable 1, and the academic performance, that is variable 2. For the population of the third grade children, same as we try to understand the sample, usually populations are so large that a researcher cannot be examine the entire group. Therefore, a sample is selected to represent the population in a research study. The goal is to use the result obtained from the sample to help the answer the questions about the population. Now we are in a single meaning. If we try to understand, suppose the entire Gujarat and all the colleges of Gujarat, especially the BSc colleges and the students of BSc colleges, though are enrolled in various universities, they are our BSc population. Out of the BSc population, if we need to select few students for the Gujarat state cricket team, we are not going to select the entire BSc students or all the graduate students, because team can be only frame of the 11 players. So we need to take the different students though are playing a very good cricket. So the procedure of selecting the players out of the students, all the students, they are our population from which we need to select. And when the team which is framed and the total number of players, 11 players plus extra relievers, they are our samples. For a particular target, whatever the information and whatever the players or whatever the observation which is obtained from this data, that is sample, and the big mass or the source of the information from where we took the sample, it is called the population. If we move ahead and try to understand the further another definitions which is also important before understanding the classification. So the introductory part of the primary and secondary data. In any statistical investigation, the collection of the numerical data is the first and most important matter to be attended. That the primary data. Often a person investigating will have to collect the data from the actual field of inquiry. For this, he may issue suitable questionnaires to get necessary information, or he may take actual interviews. Personal interviews are more effective than the questionnaires, which may not evoke an adequate response. Now the primary information, every day we are having a very hot summer this season. Every day we have the information of the temperature. This is the primary information, which is actual temperature should be noticed, and then after it should be executed or telecast. At the same way, whenever we are making our own efforts to collect certain information, it is called as the primary data. Now the secondary data. Another method of collecting data may be available in publications of government bodies or other public or private organizations, as for example NSSO, NFSH or MRD. Nowadays, as we all are aware about the digitalization in this modernization period, all this information are easily available through the internet. But the information must be authentic. It should be telecast or published by the authentic agencies, by the government or by the authentic agencies. Whenever we are using, being a researcher, this source of information which is collected earlier, and for any sort of analysis or any sort of observation, we are directly using this secondary information for our research purpose. Say for example, we have the record of the rainfall since last decade. Whenever the data was collected, it was in the primary form. But after 10 years, if I want to examine what was the situation in Gujarat of the rainfall, I will get the idea. I will get this data which is previously recorded. The same way, many research journals, the publication articles, they are producing their facts and figures which should be used. It is called as a secondary data. I would like to repeat because it is a very important part of primary and secondary data. In general, for collecting the information, when we make our own efforts by the questionnaire or we are go for the interview, personal interview and getting the information, that is called as primary information. As you all are aware about the salesmen, what they are doing and getting the information from the customer, what are their behaviors. When they are personally interact and getting the information for their respective companies, it is called as a primary data collection procedure. And whatever the data come out, it is called as primary data. And in a secondary part, the data are already collected earlier by the authentic lobbies and which is used for our individual purpose. That is called as a secondary data information. As we move ahead with the another information, that is sometimes the data may be available in the publications or in the government bodies or public or private. However, it opens to numeric the data that one's mind can hardly comprehend its significance in the form that is shown. Therefore, it becomes very necessary to tabulate and summarize the data to an easily management form. In doing so, we may overlook its detail. Now, the another required definitions and process. First, very important is variables. A variable is a characteristics or conditions that can change or take on a different values. In another word, if I want to derive the variables, I can say that the things can be measurable. It is called variable because it is vary. As the temperature change, as the height of the person which is change, as the weight change, the marks of any subject which is change as per the time. When the things can be changed, that is called as variable. And when the things cannot be changed, it is called as attributes. Most research initiates with a general question the associations between two variables for a specific group of individuals. Is there any associations between height and the weight of a person? Is there any association between the blood sugar level with their blood pressure? Because blood pressure and the sugar level both are measurable. We are getting the numeric form of the data from the laboratory after the testing. So it can be called as a variable. Next, we are already understand about these 2 points, that is population and sample. Now a very important merry-go-round is the population, means all of the individuals of interest. For any sort of group, for any sort of case, for any sort of field, the entire mass is called as a population. Then the sample is selected from the, we know that sample should be always taken from the population. Then the sample individual selected to participate in the research study, and the research study can give us the results, and the results from the sample are generalized of the population, and again which is useful to the population. Let me give you one example of the entire picture. When we have all our individuals, let me consider as a population, we divide in the two separate parts, educated population, uneducated population. Out of an educated population, we need to select 1,000 individuals for a government job. So what we are doing, we are offering the examination, the entrance test should be conducted. This entrance test should be conducted for the entire population. But we need to select only 1,000. If suppose for this particular procedure, the entire population, if we talk in the context of Gujarat, we have a 6 crore population. That is different thing. But for this particular recruitment, government clerks recruitment, we need the person at least who have done the graduation. So the population can become more small than the entire population. So the uneducated people, those are already skip their higher education, or those are not graduate, they are not our population. So who is our population? All the graduates of Gujarat, that is our population. Out of this population, those are filling the form and giving the examination, and those are clear this examination, they are considered as our sample. Same way, if we move ahead, then the types of variables. Variables can be classified as a discrete or continuous. Discrete variable such as class size consists of individual categories, the number of children in a family and number of accident, etc. Continuous variables such as time or weight are infinitely divisible into whatever units a researcher may choose. For example, time can be measured to the nearest minutes. So it is continuous form when we are having more information or more data. At that time, lots of observations may be repeated. At that time, we need to exactly classify it either in the discrete form or in the continuous form. So the mode of information that we need to understand, as I have already talked, that the number of family members which is fixed. In X family there are 4 members, in a Y family there are 6 members, or in a Z family there are 2 members only. So when the data is strict or which is fixed, then the information is called as a discrete information. And sometimes